Welcome to NHA Today, where we explore the path to lasting health and fulfillment through a whole food, plant-based lifestyle. Each week, we bring you real conversations with doctors, health experts, and everyday individuals who've transformed their lives through food, mindset, and community. This is NHA Today, powered by the National Health Association.
Hello, and welcome back to the NHA Today podcast. It's me, Stacey Heine, your guest host for today. And I am excited to introduce you to Doug Evans. Doug Evans is a visionary entrepreneur, wellness advocate, and the best-selling author of The Sprout Book. He's a pioneer in the natural food movement. Doug co-founded Organic Avenue, one of the first organic cold-pressed juice brands in the U.S., and later went on to create the Sprouting Company, making it easier than ever for people to grow nutrient-dense food right on their counter. With a passion for plant-based living and a mission to make vibrant health accessible, Doug has helped ignite a modern sprouting movement, inspiring thousands of people to take control of their health using the most affordable, sustainable, and powerful food on the planet, which is sprouts. In his story of transformation from living off junk food to thriving on plant foods, on living plant foods, continues to motivate people around the world to rethink what it means to nourish themselves. So please welcome Doug Evans.
Wow, what an introduction, Stacey. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Doug, I'm really excited to have you here. So many people need to know about sprouts. I'm just so thankful to know you and to have amplified my sprouting journey because of you. And this needs to be talked about. So I'm really, really excited for today.
Yeah, I mean, Stacey, what if I told you that that you could grow the most nutrient-dense food on the planet in 5 days on your kitchen countertop, without soil, without sunshine, without fertilizer? That, my friend, is the miracle of sprouting. And sprouts are fresh vegetables, and they're up to 100 times more nutrient dense than mature vegetables. So sprouts aren't a garnish or a side dish, right? They're vegetables, they're vitamins. Sprouts are the original superfood. So if we think about it like that, everyone should be sprouting. Everyone should be eating sprouts, which is why, why I wrote the Sprout Book, which is why I started the Sprouting Company. And, you have our sprouter, we designed a countertop sprouting system that's a major upgrade from the old way. We designed a larger jar, better drainage, better airflow, and guaranteed to sprout seeds, right? Because that was always a concern. So organic, pathogen tested, high germination seeds. Yeah. And a quarter cup of those seeds grows into a full jar, 5 cups of sprouts in 5 days for under $1 a serving. So, when you think about the fact that the average vegetable travels 2,000 miles across the country, and homegrown sprouts, they travel 2 feet. So we're just getting started, with this movement, and the world needs fresh, local, organic produce, right? Vegetables. And sprouts are a way that give access to everybody to be able to do it. So, I planted the seed, right? Who's ready to just grow with me, and sprout this revolution, out to the universe, right? Like that's what's happening.
Yeah. And as organic farmers ourselves, I will tell you what it takes to germinate a seed, to grow it into a little cotyledon or whatever with the true leaves, then to get it to become its mature plant and transplant it into the ground and then sell it at the farmer's market is a heck of a lot harder and not even as nutrient dense than just growing food on your countertop. It's a true miracle. Sprouts are. They're amazing. And I will tell you, yes, we're going to talk more about the sprouting company and the actual device that I've been using and that you created, the actual jar. And it is so far superior than anything that I've ever used in terms of sprouting, in terms of drainage, in terms of my sprouts not getting mushy, like you said, airflow, and the seeds, they germinate. It's not like you have a whole bunch of seeds left over in the jar. But we've got to go back, Doug, because we have to start kind of from the beginning. Like, your story is so inspiring and we need to hear it. I know you've said it so many times, but we need to hear it. How in the world did you even find out about sprouts? And how did they transform your life? What was your life, what did it used to look like compared to now?
So, I started to sprout 30 years ago, right? I'm 59. So I started to sprout when I was 29. And I saw sprouts at the Union Square Farmers Market in New York City.
Best farmers market. Just went to it, by the way.
And I was drawn to the energy, the vibrancy, the vitality of the sprouts. And I remember being fascinated that you were eating the entire plant, the root, the shoot, the endosperm, the embryo, like you were eating the whole plant. And I just was intrigued with that. And, so I loved the sprouts and I continued to eat the sprouts, for years. And as I just said in my opening, I always thought of them as a garnish, a side dish, or a superfood. And then, a few years after I started to eat sprouts, I went cold cucumber and I gave up eating cooked food, processed food, refined food, meat, dairy, animal products. And I went to a raw living diet where I was eating fruits, vegetables, seeds, nuts, seaweed, and sprouts. And that was my diet for, 2 decades. And then, before that, I ate anything, right? Like I ate fast food, I ate street food, like I would eat anything, literally anything. I remember going to a New York Knicks basketball game and getting 4 cotton candies, right? Just like eating junk. I remember my first and regular meal at McDonald's, which was a Big Mac, quarter pounder with cheese, 9-piece chicken McNugget, large fries, vanilla shake, apple pie. And I'd still be hungry and eat a hot fudge sundae with extra caramel. So this was nuts, my diet then. And, as a result, I was tired, I was fatigued, I was overweight. I would crash at 3:00 in the afternoon. I would be drawn to sugar and chocolate. And then, when my aunt, I got that call that she was going into the hospital, that she had diabetes and she had no movement in her toes and in her feet. And they were actually going to do a double amputation of her feet because it was cheaper to do them both at the same time, put her under once. And I couldn't imagine what was going on, sawing her bones off and her toe. It was just so disheartening.
Yeah.
And then she died anyway. And then my mother died of stomach cancer and my father died of heart disease. And my brother became overweight, obese, diabetic, and then had the first of 3 strokes and 2 heart attacks. That when this happened, I thought that I was genetically cursed, that nothing mattered, I was just going to die like them. And then, they say when the student is ready, the teacher will come. I met my teacher, my first teacher, and she was plant-based. And it was incomprehensible what she was telling me. Because if I didn't have meat, chicken, fish, pizza, pasta every meal, I thought I would like become emaciated and die. Like I needed to eat that. And so I remember like the next day, I ate like a pound of cherries, and I thought I was going to get like, my stomach was upset and was fine. I ate not just a slice of watermelon, I ate a whole watermelon, right? Instead of a few sprouts, right? I ate like, I don't know, half a pound of sprouts. And I got through the entire day, and I was still alive. I went to sleep, and that night, like I slept through the night. And so I like made a little checkbox and I wrote still raw one day. And then I didn't know like the nuance. I didn't know the difference between tofu and tempeh and seitan and what was raw, what wasn't. So it took me like 2 weeks to go from eating anything to vegetarian, vegan, raw vegan, right? It took the 2 weeks. Then when I got it, like everything just made so much sense. Like I could look at sprouted lentils versus white rice or brown rice or quinoa, or sprouted raw quinoa versus cooked quinoa. And when you start to compare cooked lentils versus raw lentils, and you look that in 3 days, a sprouted lentil increases the vitamin C by 300%, quadruples the antioxidants, that you're eating something that's already healthy and you're elevating it to a whole new level.
Yeah.
That was what was so compelling to me. And then I realized like, okay, there's only so much room in my stomach. And I read the book, Eat to Live by Joel Fuhrman. And I realized that most people were living to eat. They're thinking about their next meal. They're salivating. They want to get drunk. They want the wine. They want the sugar. They want the oil. They want, the salt. And that all of these things were vices. And that if I could eat like the natural stuff, like instead of one ripe, peaches, and are in season right now, peaches and plums, and they're so good. And instead of eating one, I'll have a plate of 6 peaches or 7 peaches. And like they're juicy and like, I deal with the mess. I lick my fingers and I'm getting like this nourishment. But if you tune into that consciousness, the colors are antioxidants. The water was filtered through the roots, through the shoots, through the stems and the trunk, of the trees. The texture is the soluble and insoluble fiber. And so this is like nature's magic. So the world is hungry for fresh produce. Yeah. And not all fruit grows in all climates or all seasons and all geographies. But miraculously, sprouts do. And so my feeling is that sprouts give you the recommended amount of daily servings of fresh fruits and vegetables, because sprouts are vegetables. And they're so affordable and they're so nutritious. They're up to 100 times more nutritious than mature vegetables. So here's this opportunity for people to consume for the lowest cost, the highest quality nutrition, the freshest, right? That the fact like that produce is traveling around the country. And here are my hands. The baby's just screaming. It's great. But the idea that this fresh, organic, local produce is available for under $1 a serving to anybody, like, is why my mantra is everybody should be sprouting. Everybody should be eating sprouts.
Yeah. Now, can we just break it down a little bit when it comes to different nutrients in different sprouts? I know there's for sure some special ones that you could bring up in terms of how powerful they are for the human body. One being sulforaphane. Can you talk a little bit about some of the best sprouts, and why they're special, what they can do?
So first of all, I just want to say, like, they're all great. Like, literally, I lived on sprouts, right? So I lived on sprouts, and I developed an intimate relationship with each variety.
Yeah. How long did you do that for again, Doug?
I would do 30 days at a time.
Yeah.
Just because I didn't want to leave my ranch.
Yeah.
Right.
Doug was in the desert, and he didn't have really access to any fresh food, and he had a light bulb moment and was like, I can live off sprouts. No big deal. I can do this.
Yeah. Well, it turns out, like, I moved to Wonder Valley Hot Springs near Joshua Tree in the Mojave Desert. Yeah. And not only is it an environmental desert, it was a food desert. So we had no Whole Foods, we had no Albertsons, we had nothing, no farmers markets. So, if you think about, most people want to feel full. Any of the sprouted legumes will make you feel full fast. Sprouted mung beans, sprouted lentils, sprouted green peas, sprouted garbanzo beans, super nutritious. Turns out those are very rich in the amino acids to form proteins. So, I love all of them, for different flavors and textures, et cetera. They're the best snack. They're incredible. Just to give to anybody, sprouted alfalfa or sprouted clover are just incredible. And like, sprouted alfalfa have more beta-carotene, than the GMO golden rice that they give, out through UN and through aid. Like, it's just amazing. Wow. And along with the vitamin A that's in the alfalfa, you get vitamin C and you get chlorophyll, right? So, I dance between the alfalfa and the clover. Red clover has just a beautiful texture and flavor. So I love those. They're very mild, and they've got a great crunch, and they're water-based, and they're incredible. If anybody has any weight management issues, the more alfalfa, broccoli, clover you eat, they're high fiber, low calorie, low fat, that you will just transform your body, feeling full, being nourished. It's well known that broccoli is part of the cruciferous family of vegetables. And the cruciferous family of vegetables, known for their anti-cancer properties. And so when you think about that, broccoli has the most of these compounds, the most of the glucosinolates, and in particular glucoraphanin, the precursor to sulforaphane. Like, that's just well known. When you look at, and what we did was we looked at what variety of broccoli had the most. And it turns out it wasn't the variety broccoli rabe or regular garden broccoli. It was the stage, and that the seeds had the most of the glucoraphanin. And it turns out that they had a finite amount in every seed. But seeds are hard to digest because they have enzyme inhibitors, they've got phytic acid, they've got lectins. But when you sprout the seed, you initiate a metamorphosis from seed into vegetable. So on day 3, the broccoli sprouts are the most bioavailable. They are still the smallest stage of the vegetable. So those will have the highest levels of the anti-cancer compounds. And so there's a level when we think about nutrition, people think about macronutrients and micronutrients. When we're dealing with sprouts, because of the living aspects and the stage, they have a whole concentrated amount of phytochemicals that are an immeasurable case. And so these phytochemicals, the precursor to antioxidants, are there. So, you can look at a lot of these vegetables in the brassica family: mustard, radish, wasabi, kale, are all in there. But like broccoli has glucoraphanin, radish has glucoraphanine. So there's like different phytochemicals that have a different healing properties. The most researched of all of them is is broccoli and the glucoraphanin and the sulforaphane, where there's more than 2,000 peer-reviewed published papers on how they reduce oxidative stress, and scavenge free radicals, how they can regulate insulin levels. Like, it's a whole level of like what chemical reaction is happening in the body, how they pass through the body and actually detoxify benzene and air pollutants and the chemicals associated with microplastics from the body. So there's a whole level of what's going on, with those. But overall, there's so much in these seeds, in these sprouts, that when you're not doing, the added salt, the added oil, the added sweetener, every single sprout has its own flavor profile, its own texture. And you start to tune in and crave the natural levels of sodium, the natural levels of the glucose and the fructose, and the texture. So once you're able to break free from, the processed food designed to kill you, and you go back to nature, then all of a sudden the sprouts have flavor, they have texture, they have color, they have incredible microbiome diversity that we all need. So it is a truly miracle food. And the fact that this miraculous food is available at the lowest cost, like it's paradoxical that the most nutritious food is also the lowest cost food.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing. I love, you mentioned the microbiome diversity, and we all know that getting certain phytonutrients, getting a variety of phytonutrients, like a white peach is a little different than a yellow peach, and we can get different polyphenols from there. Like, we would need to diversify as much as possible. And you actually have a blend. I can't remember what the blend is called. Is it the Warrior blend?
We have several blends. We have like a salad mix and a protein blend.
I like the salad one. Yeah, good one. And that gets you, 4 or 5 different varieties of different plants, all in just that one seed mix. And you can grow that in the same jar. And I want to tell the audience, I want to make sure people know that, sprouts, like Doug said, they're not just a garnish. Like, you can actually put them into recipes, like raw burgers. You can put them into like raw pancakes. You can fit sprouts in a lot of different ways, put them into smoothies. They don't have to be, maybe you have a textural thing with sprouts and you're like, I can't really get around the texture. Then put them into recipes so that you can get that amplified phytonutrients and really take advantage of the cost effectiveness and just how much nutrition you're getting out of such a small, tiny, but mighty seed that sprouts and turns into this miraculous thing. Doug, as you are evolving, the sprouting company is doing well, right? I mean, you have these high glucoraphanin seeds, right?
Literally, the business is the most successful business I've ever been part of in my entire life. And it's interesting that I'm doing the least amount of work, and the business is growing because it's like in harmony, with nature, and it's filling this need. And look, my whole life, I've always been into fresh, right?
Yeah.
Like I love fresh, and sprouts provide the miracle of freshness, but preserved with nature's preservative in a seed. So the ability to just sell these magical guaranteed to sprout seeds. And if people add water and then they get the freshness, it's incredible, and it's super exciting. And it's just the beginning. We're working on literally a whole global execution plan so that the entire world can sprout.
Yeah. It's absolutely empowering and incredible and amazing. And anybody who thinks that they can't grow their own food because they don't have a green thumb, or they've killed their tomato plants before, or they can't keep the lettuce alive, or the radishes dwindle and get all soggy in the ground when they try to grow them, start with sprouts. Start with sprouts. It will literally change your life. You will be so empowered on that day 2 to see it, the seeds swell, and then all of a sudden the little shoot starts to come out of the seed, and it's like becoming alive, and then it's growing. And then if you put it out more toward a windowsill, it will turn more green, and it gets more chlorophyll, and you can grow fresh food on your countertop. And I've been sprouting for over a decade, and I will say the sprouting company has the best device. It's not a machine. You don't have to plug it in or anything. It's just an amazing designed jar. It's easy to hold. You can grow a lot more volume because it's large. It's in its perfect holder. Everybody needs to be sprouting with the sprouting company's jar system, and getting the seeds is awesome. And I know that you guys have that high glucoraphanin seed back in stock, which is really, really awesome. And
well, look, I think Stacy, one of the things that was seemingly crazy, 5 years ago was, everyone was just sprouting in mason jars and cheesecloth. And when I looked into it, I was like, well, I want a bigger jar. I want to be able to grip it easy. I want, something more sanitary than the cheesecloth. I want a stainless steel filter. And then, I looked at even the shape of the jar. So I really wanted better drainage, better airflow, larger vessel. And so, every aspect of that was designed. So we went through hundreds of iterations to design something for sprouting, because I felt that the sprouts were worthy of a custom designed vessel. And now you look at, there's a huge concern about microplastics.
Yeah.
So our seeds are tested, and they don't have microplastics in them. And then if you grow them in the sprouting company jar, that's glass, lead-free glass with the stainless steel filter, the seeds and the sprouts never touch anything other than glass and stainless steel. So if you're concerned about microplastics, you're concerned about traceability, and you're concerned about what you eat, sprouts are actually the most nutritious, the safest, and the ones that are free of these chemicals. And I don't want to live in fear, right? But I also don't want to live with my head in the sand.
Yeah. I do want to point out just a few more things before we start to wrap it up. First off, Doug was talking about microplastics. The ones that you're buying, the sprouts that you're buying at the grocery store, I don't know how they're growing them, but I'm sure it's probably not as clean and as thoughtful as if you're doing it at home. Plus, they're stored in plastic containers. And you're spending so much money on just these small amounts of sprouts from the grocery store. You can pay for your sprouting system in just a few purchases. In just a few purchases of the grocery store sprouts. And the sprouts that you get at the grocery store will go soggy very quickly. I have tested, Doug, how long I could keep my sprouts that I grow on my countertop versus ones at the grocery store. And I mean, if you grow them on your counter, they can store, theoretically, if you don't eat them, for a week, at least a week. I mean, more it can be
Well,
longer.
look, I want to say that I love the fact that sprouts are available in the grocery store.
Yeah.
And I think that if you're going to buy produce in the grocery store, the sprouts are one of the only things that's guaranteed to be local, right? And that
Yeah.
living. But you get better value and fresher when you grow on your own. But I love, like, I can roll into, almost any major city and get sprouts, in the store. And I also prefer growing my own because I don't like the plastic, right? I'd rather, grow in glass, control the custody, and then eat them out of the glass jar. It's so satisfying. Like, I will grab a whole jar. I'm going on, if I'm driving to town and I got a ride, I'll grab the sprouts in the jar and I'll just eat them out of the jar in the car. And sprouts do not make a mess. Like, they can get anywhere in your car. They'll just dry out. You can blow them out. There's no mess. And
a really easy meal. I mean, Doug has shown something similar to this. I just want to paint the picture for people. Something really easy you could do is just pull some sprouts out, mash it with an avocado, put some lemon juice in there, roll it up in a nori sheet, and you have like really easy fast food, super nutrient dense. You're getting tons of fatty acids, tons of polyphenols, tons of fiber, tons of water. And that's a really like easy thing that you can do. Even sprouting chickpeas is really, really amazing. Do you eat sprouted chickpeas very often, Doug?
I do. I like them because they fill me up, and I also use them. I don't use protein powders or other things. And, like, I'll just say this in closing, Stacy, is that you can use sprouts as a meal, in every meal, as a salad, in juices, in smoothies, on wraps. Like, I went to the LA Hollywood Farmers Market and I gave out 600 servings of samples of sprouts. And I'm like putting them on people's pizza, on their tamales, in their soups, like whatever they were eating. I was just like, hey, add these. And it literally increases the quality of nutrition by 1,000-fold. So look, you can find me on Instagram and TikTok, Doug Evans. It's the sprouting company.com. And everyone should be sprouting. And if you have any questions, like, I'm available. Like, this is what I do. I answer questions. I support the community. I want people to be healthy and happy. So I get to do what I love.
We really appreciate you sharing your journey, your story, and your mission, and all of the work that you do, Doug. Keep spreading the goodness with sprouts, and we very much appreciate you. We will have all of the links to stay connected to Doug and to get your own system at the Sprouting Company down in the show notes. So thanks again, Doug. We appreciate you.
My pleasure, Stacy. Thank you.